Hi, everyone. Welcome to Designer's Table. I'm your host, Angie Yazalitis, and I'm joined here today with LaVonne Falbo. So, welcome to our vlog podcast. It just depends on where you're listening, whether you're watching or you're just listening. We're so excited to have you today. So, just a little bit about a designer's table as we get started. If you remember, a designer's table is brought to you by Atlas Furniture Imports. If you're not familiar with Atlas Furniture Imports, they are an imported furniture warehouse, online store, and soon to be showroom. And they are a lover of all things beautiful. And a designer's table is really just a place to chat with interior designers, people who love design. And that's why we're joined here today by LaVonne. And LaVonne is an interior designer. She owns her own store. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Okay. My name's LaVonne Falbo, and I own LaVintage Decor, and I've had my business since 2014, and I opened my store in 2015, and I've moved a few times and, learned a few things along the way, but mainly I'm doing what I set out to do in the beginning, was to do in-home design,
Yes.
somewhat budget friendly. I like to repurpose a lot of things, and I do because of my name, LaVintage Decor,
which I love.
Yeah,
Very
I sort
unique.
of have a little, well, LaVonne, LaVintage, so that's where that came from. But it does sort of, I do lean a little towards not so much. I don't want people to think that all of my designs are vintage, but the fact that we repurpose a lot or whenever possible. And of course, I do have a love for all things vintage.
Yes.
So that comes into play. But I also have rustic bridal and event rentals. So I rent vintage furniture out for
So cool.
weddings, and I consider myself a furniture artist. So I paint furniture. Sometimes I stain it. People get upset sometimes whenever you say that you paint old furniture.
I know. I know. I've had people say that to me.
But sometimes like they're ready for the dumpster, and you can save furniture by repairing and painting it. So
Yes.
so yeah, that's what I do. And when I do that, I like to use it as a canvas and do some art on it. So I do sell paint, and I also so I sell Dixie Belle paint, and I also sell Iron Orchid Designs, which is transfers and molds and all the fun embellishments.
Yes.
So yeah, that's
So
what we do here, and we do classes occasionally too.
So she does a lot. But I think it's really cool. And one of the things I love the most about being asked to host Designer's Table by Atlas is that Atlas is very open to joint marketing and working with other stores and interior designers, knowing that, when you work together, you can bring really something great to the client. And I know we're going to get into this on our as we talk today, as we chat around the table. But you had an opportunity to go in and to see Atlas and see some of what they have in their warehouse. And I think that really was a fun experience for you.
Oh, it absolutely was. So, I love furniture in the first place, and to speak to their philosophy, that's also so important to me. I've always loved to collaborate with other businesses. And so this was, a great invitation whenever you had brought this up to me. I really, was all about it. So yeah, the furniture is just beautiful. It's a lot of it is sort of retro inspired.
Yes.
In my
mid-century
opinion.
modern inspired.
Yeah, I get that vibe.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, a lot of beautiful pieces, but they're also really, that's so popular right now.
Yes.
So,
very high quality and imported.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So, really a designer's table is basically a chance for people to sit in a creative conversation about interior design and all things interior design. So I have some questions for you
Okay.
that I'd love you to share with the audience your thoughts on. And this one, we talked a little bit about it in our last podcast. But that is, does an interior designer like yourself, or others out there that are listening, and people who may want to hire a designer, need formal training? Do you think they need to have formal training?
The rules vary from state to state. There are actually some places that do require it, but no, you don't have to.
And well, let me just interrupt you. And you are in. So for our listeners and viewers, we're in Central Pennsylvania. That's
Right.
where Atlas is located. That's where LaVintage Decor is located. Both sell in some capacity outside of the area. You do as well, right?
Yeah.
Atlas is sells national on their website, but you also have followers.
Yes, and I'm set up to ship, in anywhere in the United States.
Really? Yeah.
Continental United States.
Continental United States. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to let them know where we're at. We're in Central
PA. One of my favorite designers, and I think a lot of people also would find her to be a favorite, is Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, of course.
From Magnolia Farms. She has always been sort of not a mentor, but I wish an inspiration for me. Yeah, because not so much the farmhouse style, although I love what she does. But the business model is something that, she is not formally trained. And so, Chip, her husband, with having the, real estate business, it was just a natural for them to start flipping homes and then, turning this into an empire. So, that's, always just a little beacon of light for me as inspiration to just think about her and the fact that she wasn't formally trained either. You either have an eye for it or you don't.
Right.
And whenever I'm invited into someone's home for one reason, sometimes I can't help but look into other rooms and give my I figure if they invited me there, then my opinion is solicited. So so it ended up one time I went, I was invited to refresh someone's kitchen, and then I could not help looking into their living space, which was just dark, and I thought, oh, I just would love to get my hands on that. So I just kept, I kept saying to her, I said, let's talk about this space. I ended up doing her entire first floor, the entire first floor.
Fun.
Yeah. So, so.
Well, I want to dig into that just a little bit more. So if, because Atlas does cater to designers, and that they give a 20% discount to interior designers, and love working with interior designers, what would you, like, where did you start, and what would you say to someone who feels they have an eye, wants to get started offering some services, maybe has been doing it for friends and family for a long time, but just never took it out? Like, how did you get started that very first time?
I don't know whether this would be a conventional way to do it, but this is what I did. I decided that I was going to give away $1,000 makeover. So I remember this. Yeah, I had been doing some work in a little consignment shop. So I had kind of started to gather a little collection of pieces. So I offered this, and I actually chose a winner based on my entries, but then I also chose a runner-up.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, the runner-up is the person that really kind of catapulted my business to begin with, because they ended up using me for 3 rooms in their home, and then they referred me to other people, and that was just a blessing.
That's a great way to start.
Yeah, my neighbor had said to me, you started your business in a biblical way, she said. And she said, and it'll come back to you. And I really believe that. The giving thing just really came back to me.
I do too. So, you mentioned already the retro, the mid-century modern. obviously we talked a little bit about vintage, and those are all things that are certainly still on trend, but what do you think some of the trends are like right now? And then, if somebody's listening and they're like, I think that suits me, how do they incorporate that without having to
Breaking
go
the
out and
bank,
spend
or yeah,
everything and doing their whole house that way? And,
yeah.
you know,
Well, I think one of the biggest things right now, actually, I'm working in a commercial space, and
hmm
they're doing a lot of feature walls. So
hmm
if you look on Pinterest and just or Google feature walls, you'll see all kinds of beautiful either florals or geometrics, or they're adding moldings to the walls,
yes.
just all kinds of really cool things. And that is super inexpensive. You can
hmm
create even the board and batten look. You can
hmm
even create that with paint. So also, like, they'll do like niches, or and just in paint, and it's just a great way to highlight a piece of artwork,
Right.
or a conversation area. So that's really hot right now, is feature walls. So I would recommend that to anyone, because it just revitalizes the whole room. It gives it a
Yes.
whole new look. So paint is always the good, easy
Yes.
way.
And we talked about this on the last podcast. Those of you who are listening to this as a series, the feature wall, just from a pure paint perspective, because we talked about how the color of the year, the Pantone color of the year, is like a magenta color,
Mhm.
and the color is coming back. And so, whereas it was very, very neutral, just grays and creams, and now color is coming back. So, Kenny, our last guest, talked about making a pop of color on a feature wall too, that
Mhm.
maybe is you're featuring that one great piece of art. You don't want to go the route of painting a whole room that color,
Right.
but you are willing to be a little bit more daring in a feature wall. So I
Mhm.
love this whole concept of feature wall. I have a question with that just popping into my mind. Do you feel like all design styles can use feature walls?
Oh yeah, I think so, definitely. Um, so again, I would kind of look at Pinterest to get some ideas. And when you do searches for anything,
Mm-hmm.
add the words in that you want to see. So, if you put feature wall, if you put, mid-century feature wall, or just vintage feature wall,
Right, right, right.
just see, what your search brings up, because that's not necessarily that phrase, but things that are used in that article or description. So, yeah, I really think that a feature wall can be an architectural element.
Mm-hmm.
So you could stencil columns on your wall
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to do that. Or, you can do anything. There's just so many tools out there that are just so much fun to use.
Right.
I've done these walls that I've done a combination of freehand and
Mm-hmm.
stamps. And I also did a hair salon, and I did um, transfers and dimensional butterflies, and just things that just you can just have so much fun with it. And the great thing about it is it can be easily removed, and you can
Yes, that's so key.
redo when things change, or when your your
Yes.
mood changes.
Well, because we change as people, our
Yeah.
design styles somewhat do change. You may have a favorite that you sort of carry through, but it grows, it matures, your home
Mhm.
grows and matures. The big thing about design is that you can build on it. And, they always say, do not um, go out and just try to finish your home, get it to like phase one, but then let it evolve and mature as you find things. And that's the cool thing about design, is because you have a piece and you're like, oh yes, that's from our trip, to the Outer Banks or
Yeah.
wherever you found something.
You curate
Um,
your accessories and
yes.
things, and there's nothing wrong with having an accessory closet, where
Mhm.
you rotate things out for the season, or just,
Yes.
I'm sure you've said, I know I've said, I'm really tired of looking at that. So,
Oh yeah.
but then the next time you bring it out, then it gets, restyled in a different way. And then it's kind of like new again.
Yes. Well, your accessories, and one of the biggest tips I ever got from an interior designer is your accessory, um, your clothing is similar to accessories in a home. So just like you refresh your wardrobe and
Mhm.
your wardrobe changes and grows with the time, so should your accessories in your home. So
Well,
I think that was a huge tip. Like you look at your accessories for the season, right? When you're dressing.
right.
Um, and so you should do the same with your accessories in your home.
Along with that, I think that is a great tip, but I also think that if you do stick with traditional styles or classics, that are timeless, then
Oh,
those are
yes.
things that, are good investments because they're always going to be, in style. So
Yes. So I'm curious, you brought up a good point, talking about, looking at classics and things. Do you think you can mix? How do you feel about mixing styles?
I really think that that's something that's doable.
Hmm.
Your home should be a reflection of who you are and what you like.
Hmm.
So if put those, again, curate those pieces in your home, then
Hmm.
I feel that it really doesn't matter what the style's dictating right now or what's
Yes.
hot, because you live in your home and you can switch things out however you want. But I really feel that, you can look up, eclectic style and you'll see all of that, or, maximalist or
Yes.
minimalist, because
Yes.
those are two different styles. But the maximalist, kind of has, I like things. I like lots of things.
Okay, so
So,
that's one of your questions: minimalism or maximalism?
yeah, I mean, it's just like some people don't like anything on their counters, anything on their tables, or their once,
Yes.
accessory or whatever. I am, I don't like a lot of clutter, but I do like things. I like bookshelves with lots of interesting things to look at.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
I have collections, I collect whole pottery. So,
Yes.
that's just always something to talk about and look at. And, I
Yes.
need more shelves for it. But,
Yes.
that's
And it's
just,
beautiful to you.
yeah.
That's what your eye
Hmm.
is drawn to.
Yeah. Like,
Yes.
yeah, people always, that's always when we go on vacation, we pick a piece up usually. And usually I end up at Christmas or birthday time getting, a piece or
Yes.
two. So yeah, it's just, and it's really cool because I, have a book now that I can identify them and group them, and there's pieces that I still want. And, it's
Yes.
fun to collect something, but yeah, it requires some space and you can't be a minimalist and have a collection.
That's so true. And that I think was the coolest thing in just doing some of the design research as we were launching into this year, um, for Atlas, and even how they're going to showcase in their store. Um, One of the big trends that's in right now and was in a lot of the articles that are either in Architectural Digest or various, or AD as they call it, or some of the other magazines, interior design, um, is that we really are going back to creating a home that's all about us.
Mhm.
Like that, you don't people don't want to go into a home that, your house looks like my house looks like, Sue's house over there and
Right.
Tom's house over there, that we all have that same because that's what's in.
Yeah.
Um, and, I think with the advent of like HGTV being so, where people do have a tendency to kind of go to the things that
Mhm.
almost are very much the same. And I know sometimes I'll get this comment is like people will say, well, you can do that, but I couldn't do that in design,
Like that's your personality. You can get away with that or
Yes,
pull it
kind of
off.
kind of thing. And I'm a big disagreeer of that. I say that's not true. I think, and that's why I love the 2023 trends, because it's all
Mhm.
about you being you. Um, and you hit on a couple of the key points. Like, don't be afraid to mix like classic, a really good piece where you spend more money, with maybe something, that is
Little
not.
trendy or
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is more trendy.
Yeah.
That,
And, that's a good way to, get your feet wet with that, is just to get one conversation piece. So you have this traditional setup in your home, and then but you go to the store and you find this piece, like something, like that. I like to do the artistry furniture painted pieces.
yes.
I just did a piece that's all teacups, and,
Oh, that's so
it's
cool.
just, so, I mean, that can be like one thing that you put, maybe start with one room and then just put one conversation piece in there. We had the conversation, or the jewelry, I can't think of the word, not conversation, but yeah, it's not coming to me.
Well,
But
like a
anyway,
conversation starter.
yeah,
That is that one
yeah,
piece.
yeah.
So
It's
what
kind
you
of like a
mean?
big chunky piece that
Yes.
people look at,
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's just, I know there's a word for it that's
It's
escaping me at the
escaping me
moment.
too. So, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. But
The
anyway,
conversation starter.
yeah.
Like,
So I mean, it is great to have a piece like that in your room, and then eventually you might, decide to put a piece like that in every room, and
yes.
then you sort of get a feel for it, and what you can do. Maybe put that new piece, and then put that conversation wall together with it, and all of a sudden your home looks totally different.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
much so. So, I did promise the audience the last time we wouldn't go much over 25 minutes, certainly not over 30. We're 21:40. This
Time
is a great
flies.
conversation. I know, I can't believe it's a great conversation. But I want to go to just kind of wrap up some of the things you said, because we want to leave with some tips. And then I want to give you an opportunity to shout out one of the pieces of furniture from our sponsor, Atlas Furniture Imports, because that's certainly why we're doing this and who's sponsoring it. So getting to know them. But you talked about a couple things, and I'll recap them, and then you just shout in if I've missed something. But we talked about certainly, the ability to mix and match. You talked about paint being a great way to do that. And I don't, and that it's not necessarily just painting, but maybe a feature wall.
Right.
And to build on what Kenny said last week or month, excuse me, it's not just like painting the feature wall in a color, but maybe architectural elements
Or adding
or
a stencil. I just did one where I used a stencil and I used a gloss for the stencil. So it was like void of color, but when you see it in the light, there's a
that's
pattern.
so cool.
Yeah. So,
And I saw somewhere where, because wallpaper's coming back, some people are stenciling instead of wallpapering. It gives the same look
yeah,
without honestly, wallpaper's not easy to work
it
with.
is not, especially when you have that pattern that you have to match the seams. It is not.
Yeah. So stenciling instead of wallpaper. So that's really cool. And you just said allowing yourself to be you, and I loved your recommendation of using Pinterest, because you're right. You can pretty much search anything these days.
Yeah.
So you're saying go out, literally write exactly what you're looking for, and they're going to be surprised at what they might find, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere someone else has thought the same thing that you did.
Yeah. We all have somebody out there who's like us.
And if you can't find it, then that's a business opportunity.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So, LaVonne, I'm going to. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah,
very enjoyable.
I love talking about design.
Me too. But so, Atlas, what did you find out there that you said you liked several pieces? But
oh my gosh, it was really hard to pick a favorite for sure. But I did find this one chair that I just was so impressed with. It was, now I'm not sure whether it's claret or claret, but
I'm not sure either.
Yeah,
I know the piece.
Yeah, it's a beautiful wooden chair. It has a real mid-century modern vibe to it. It's definitely a designer chair. I mean, I can see that either being an occasional chair, or and you could even put a cushion on it if you want, or I can see it around a beautiful dining table as well.
Yes.
So it's to me, when you find a piece like we were talking about before that's just timeless, It's got that cool vibe, yet I feel it's a timeless design.
Yes.
So that's my pick. It has gold on it, which is trendy, but also traditional.
Yes.
And again, the wood and the curve of the back, it's just beautiful. You have to look it up on the website so that
Yes.
you can check it out.
And we'll add it to comments. We'll put a picture even in the comments. And so, yes, we'll definitely shout that out. So, and what's really cool about it is it's $499. So, it's a nice investment piece. But if it's your birthday month, $250, you can get it for half price at Atlas. And during your birthday month, you can get anything at Atlas half price up to $1,000, and that would be a phenomenal. Like that would be a choice I would make during my birthday month
for sure. That's an amazing deal.
Yeah. So
because you have a birthday every year, so you can really build your collection.
Absolutely, you can. So I just am so excited. Thank you for joining us on a designer's table. We'd love to have you back.
Sure, anytime. I'd love to.
So maybe we'll have you back every once in a while, and we'll talk about what's happening. And there'll be some links below so that you can also, check out LaVonne's site when you're checking out Atlas and get to know her, because we really appreciate her and all that she's doing, and maybe look for some things coming up. If you're in the central PA area with both you and Atlas Furniture, that would be cool.
I love to collaborate.
All right. Well, everybody keep designing, whether you're a designer or not. And we hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.